Hello. Chalo, let us move ahead of our story of the childhood of APJ Abdul Kalam. Okay, so one day when I was in the 5th standard at the Rameswaram Elementary School, a new teacher came to our class. I used to wear a cap which marked me as a Muslim, and I always sat in the front row next to Ramananda Sastri, who wore the sacred thread. The new teacher could not stomach a Hindu priest's son sitting with a Muslim boy. In accordance with our social ranking, as a new teacher saw it, I was asked to go and sit on the back bench. I felt very sad, and so did Ramananda Sastri. He looked utterly downcast as I shifted to my seat in the last row. The image of him weeping when I shifted to the last row left a lasting impression on me. So one day it happened that there came a new teacher in their school. The name of the school was Rameswaram Elementary School, where Abdul Kalam, his friend Ramananda Sastry, they used to study, and both of these two children, they used to sit besides each other. Okay, and being a Muslim, APJ Abdul Kalam, he used to wear a cap on his head, which indicated that he was a Muslim boy. So the new teacher, he didn't have any idea about this, but he could not stomach a Hindu priest's son sitting with a Muslim boy. So he could not stomach means he could not tolerate that how could a Muslim boy sit besides the son of Hindu priest. So he he forced Abdul Kalam to sit in the last row. So Abdul, he had to move over there, but he felt very sad, and so did Ramananda Sastri. Ramananda Sastri, his closest friend, he also felt very sad, and he was literally weeping. He was crying, and his crying face had a deep impression, or a lasting impression on Abdul Kalam. So after school, we went home and told our respective parents about the incident. Lakshman Sastri summoned the teacher and in our presence told the teacher that he should not spread the poison of social inequality and communal intolerance in the minds of innocent children. He bluntly asked the teacher to either apologize or quit the school and the island. Not only did the teacher regret his behavior, but the strong sense of conviction Lakshman Sastri conveyed ultimately reformed this young teacher. So what happened after the school? Both these kids, they went to their respective houses and they told whatever happened in the school to them. So Lakshman Sastri, Ramananda Sastri's father, the high priest of Rameswaram temple, he summoned the teacher in their presence, in both the kids' presence, okay, and told the teacher, he warned the teacher not to spread such poison of social inequality and communal intolerance in the minds of innocent children. The children are very innocent and they don't know what religion is and what caste is, which race, who belongs to which race, caste or religion. They don't know anything about it. They are merely children. They are very innocent, and this teacher was spreading the poison of a religion or this social inequality among these kids. So he warned that teacher not to do this. Okay, and also he bluntly asked the teacher either to apologize, say sorry to both the kids, and or he should quit that place and even that island. So that teacher learned a lesson from this. He regretted, he said sorry, he apologized, and he got a strong feeling. He learned a lesson from that. He should not spread the poison of social inequality in the society. On the whole, the small society of Rameswaram was very rigid in terms of segregation of different social groups. However, my science teacher, Siv Subramaniam Iyer, though an orthodox Brahmin with a very conservative wife, was something of a rebel. He did his best to break social barriers so that people from varying backgrounds could mingle easily. He used to spend hours with me and would say, Kalam, I want you to develop so that you are on par with the highly educated people of big cities. So as that new teacher had his own thought, he had the sense of inequality in his thought. So the society of Rameswaram at that time, these kinds of thoughts were there. society at that time, it believed in segregation in different parts of social groups. You are Muslim, you are Hindu, you are Sikh, you are Isai. It's like that. They believed in segregation, and they never came together. But among them there was an Orthodox Brahmin. He was a science teacher of these children. Okay, his name was Subramaniam Iyer. He was a kind of rebel. Rebel means he raised his voice. He behaved in exactly opposite what society was expecting. So he, being an Orthodox Brahmin, he used to speak with Abdul Kalam. Okay, and he told him, he suggested him that he had to learn, he had to become or educate himself so much that he should be there among the successful peoples in the big cities. So he saw that spark in Abdul Kalam. Being an Orthodox Brahmin, he suggested Abdul, who was a Muslim boy. Okay, so he did not bother about about the social inequality. Okay, he was there, he was free minded, and he wanted to reform the society, wanted to change the thoughts of ideologies of the society. So one day he invited me to his home for a meal. His wife was horrified at the idea of a Muslim boy being invited to dine in her ritually poor kitchen. Sorry, pure kitchen. In her ritually pure kitchen. She refused to serve me in her kitchen. Siva Subramaniam Iyer was not perturbed, nor did he get angry with his wife, but instead served me with his own hands and sat down beside me to eat his meal. So what happened? This teacher, his science teacher, Siva Subramaniam Iyer, he was free-minded, but his wife was not. She was a conservative kind of a woman. So she did not tolerate when he invited Abdul Kalam, a Muslim boy, to dine. Okay, to have a dinner with him. So she didn't allow Abdul Kalam to sit in her ritually pure kitchen. Okay, so seeing this, the teacher, the science teacher, he was not at all perturbed. Perturbed means worried. Okay, he was not at all worried, nor did he get angry on his wife, but instead what he did, he served Abdul Kalam with his own hands, and even he sat beside him and had his meal. His wife watched us from behind the kitchen door. I wondered whether she had observed any difference in the way I ate rice, drank water, or cleaned the floor after the meal. When I was leaving his house, Subramaniam Iyer invited me to join him for dinner again the next weekend. Observing my hesitation, he told me not to get upset, saying, once you decide to change the system, such problems have to be confronted. When I visited the house the next week, Siva Subramania Iyer's wife took me inside her kitchen and served me food with her own hands. So what happened? So he, when both of them were having meal, Siva Subramaniam Iyer and APJ Abdul Kalam, the science teacher's wife, she was observing everything from standing behind the door in the kitchen. Okay, so he Abdul Kalam was puzzled that was there any difference when he ate, the way he ate rice, the way he drank water, the way he cleaned the floor after eating. Everyone does this. So whosoever, irrespective of his religion, person does the same thing. The person eats with his own hands. He uses mouth to eat. Okay, he drinks water the way other people they do. Okay, so she didn't find any difference in that. So, Siva Subramaniam Iyer, he invited Abdul Kalam next week again to dine with him. But little bit this boy was hesitated because he saw the behavior of the teacher's wife. So, but naturally he hesitated. But what teacher suggested him, once you decide to change the system, you have to confront such problems. You have to face such problems. So he went next week also to his teacher's house to have dinner, but that time he observed a difference in the teacher's wife. Okay, she was a changed person. She herself took him inside the kitchen and she served him with her own hands. So this is the difference which the teacher made in his wife. Then the Second World War was over and India's freedom was imminent. Okay, Indians will build their own India, declared Gandhiji. The whole country was filled with an unprecedented optimism. I asked my father for permission to leave Rameswaram and study at the district headquarters in the Ramanathapuram. Okay, so the Second World War was over and India's freedom was imminent. Imminent means India was about to get its freedom in future at that time. So Indians will build their own India. It was declared by Gandhiji. After that, the whole country was filled with unprecedented optimism. There was a sense of positivity, happiness in the minds of the people of India. So he asked his father a permission to leave Rameswaram and study at the district headquarters in Ramanathapuram. Ramanathapuram is a place away from Rameswaram, and he asked a permission to go over there, to live over there, and to pursue his further studies. So see what response was given to him by his father. He told me as if thinking aloud. His father replied, "Abdul, I know you have to go away to grow. Does the seagull not fly across the sun alone and without a nest?" He quoted Khalil Gibran to my hesitant mother. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. So this was the thought or the belief of his father. His father, though orthodox, but he allowed his son to go away from his village to live in other city, to pursue his education and to follow his thoughts, to follow his ideology. What did he say? He gave an example of seagull. Seagull does not fly across the sun. Seagull flies across the sun alone, but it doesn't carry its nest with it. He has to fly alone. He has to find its own path. Okay, he has to leave his house. He quoted Khalil Gibran to my hesitant mother. Of course, mothers are always hesitant to allow their children to go away from her. So from them. So just to clarify her doubts, his father explained her by quoting Khalil Gibran. Khalil Gibran was a famous person at that time, and what did he quote of at that time? He repeated that quote and explained his wife that your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing itself. Okay, they come through you but not from you. See, your children are not your children. They come through you but not from you. So you may give them your love but not your thoughts. You cannot force your children to follow your thoughts because they have their own thoughts. So let them follow their own thoughts and let them build their own life based on their own thoughts, not by your thoughts. So in this way, his father was a free-minded. Okay, he allowed Abdul Kalam to move away, to live away from his house, and that is why, based on this, Abdul Kalam, he became the famous scientist, the politician, okay, and a famous writer of his time. So we love APJ Abdul Kalam in this way because he got the nice teachings from his parents. So this was the childhood of APJ Abdul Kalam. So I hope you have understood through this lesson that we are equal, everyone is equal, not any religion is going to hinder our success, or it's not going to hinder our path towards a success. So if you have strong belief in you, if you believe in yourself, you trust yourself, you are definitely going to be successful in your life. Your parents they have given you birth, okay, but you have your own thoughts, okay. They are going to guide you, but they are not going to force you. So build your path in such a way, build your life in such a way that everyone gets a moral lesson out of it, as we get a moral lesson from Mr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So this is the whole story of his life, of his childhood. So I hope you have understood this chapter. Please go through both the videos, read the story in the textbook, and leave your comments in the comment section. Thank you.